do your research of like what group they're in. Be open to it, not join, but actually listen to what they say. Like we talked earlier, be respectful, listen, be kind. Don't try to be like what I did sometimes and be like, oh, but this contradicts it. Just be the person they can go to feel safe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel, Find the Alternative. I'm your host, Adam, 10-year former member of the World Mission Society Church of God in Salt Lake City. And today I have a guest with me, Paul. And Paul has a unique situation, and we're going to kind of dive into that. But I kind of want to give him the floor and introduce himself. We're going to hear his story and see if we can, navigate through some of these situations. And I'm sure plenty of people watching have similar stories, unfortunately. So, Paul, the time is yours. Let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Paul. Never a member of the World Mission Society, but dated someone who's been in it for about 3.5 years, I believe. Could never see what they taught, so a lot of that's going to go off that and just how to navigate dealing with someone in it.
Yeah, and I think the hardest part is just because were you together before she joined?
No. So I actually moved to Georgia. I lived in Ohio my entire life. Okay. So I met her while she was already in it.
Gotcha. Okay, so you kind of, I guess, fell in love with like her cult self, as we would say.
Yeah, I would say she wasn't really different. She kind of changed a little, but nothing major. But I could see the differences before I even met her, which she told me some stuff, and then now.
Yeah. What was the moment you realized the church might cost you the relationship? I know it's kind of a hard question because, a lot of times these cults, they're so reactive to it. Like, they don't break up families, they don't break up relationships, but obviously from what it sounds like, there was a separation. So what point was that for you?
I would say the first one is about 3 months in the relationship. The first Passover she had when we were dating, she kind of broke it off for a day because it was hard on her then. That was kind of probably like the first sign, but then we talked about it and decided that wouldn't be an issue. Then the second was our anniversary. I kind of brought up some subjects that I saw online and kind of got pushed back, and then we worked through it. Those were kind of like the two big ones.
Okay. What was some of the things, if you want to mention just some of the things that you brought up to her?
At the anniversary, I think it was the 3 missing chapters I brought up, why they don't show them, and why mother needs name tags when people go visit. So those were the two.
Those are fair, logical questions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like any normal person would probably ask that. And
yeah,
the fact that those are controversial just kind of shows you the kind of group we're dealing with. Like,
yeah,
they're proclaiming this man as God, but there's 3 missing chapters. It just doesn't compute, She's God in the flesh, and she prays for you by name on her knees all night, etc. But make sure your name tag's flipped around properly so she can see it when you're in Korea. It just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't.
Yeah, the missing chapters didn't really get to her. It was, she told me like the name tags made her doubt a little. The missing chapters, she's like, maybe they'll reveal it in time. But the name tags got her.
Which that's interesting, right? Like if somebody's hiding something from you, and then you call them out for it, that'd probably be the last person I would ask to explain, right? Like,
yeah.
Like if I'm in a relationship, right, and I see, somebody's hiding a dating app or somebody's hiding a text message or a email strand or something, and I catch them and I'm like, hey, why do you have this email strand? Why do you have this text message? Whatever the case is. Oh, I'm not going to tell you now, but later I'll tell you, right? And then a week or two later, okay, let me explain to you why. It's like, why would you wouldn't do that?
Like, it's no one in the right mind. Gaslit.
Exactly. But they do it with the 3 missing chapters when they wouldn't apply that logic to anywhere else, and they wouldn't believe it anywhere else, which is absolutely bonkers. But anyway, I know I beat that horse as much as possible because watch there and I clip it and say, he beats horses. Because that's what they do. But so what was she like when you first met her? I guess what was it that drew you to her to where you wanted to be in a relationship? How was she like?
Just we saw each other at work occasionally, depending on what hospital I went to.
Okay.
Just kind of how nice she was. She's very intelligent. How kind and nice she was. We kind of talked here and there, but she would more approach me because I was more shy,
Yeah.
and then just kind of hitting it off with similar interests.
Okay. And so you just kind of started talking and then you started hanging out and you're like, okay, we have a connection here. We have something that we could be possibly more. And
Yeah.
you wanted to be in a relationship with her.
Yep.
Um, in the beginning, did the church seem like a really big part of her life? Like, because sometimes what I hear is if somebody's in the church and they're dating somebody outside the church, most of the time it's like very superficial relationship and they're trying to get that person in the church. So I'm curious
Yeah.
to hear, since she was already in it from what it sounds like, was the church a big part of her life when you met her at that point?
She was getting into it more, she said. She never, the first couple months, 3 or 4, I knew about Sabbath and Saturday all day, which never
Yeah.
bothered me. It's fine. But I didn't know about third day, feast, until I researched it more and we started dating more. Then I learned more how kind of serious it was. But it was mainly just Saturday she brought up. And she never really tried to get me to join. She would do some Bible studies, but I don't think I'm the target victim for the Bible studies. But she would
Right.
never pressure me to join.
Because from what it sounds like, you were raised with at least a very good foundation of biblical knowledge and they couldn't pull the wool over your eyes very easily, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, and I question everything, so it's kind of like good luck, pretty much.
Yeah. Like, see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was on the other end of that where we kind of talked about it before, but my wife, girlfriend at the time, was in it, and I had no foundation, no idea what I was
Yeah.
doing, and then I got sucked into it. So you went the other way, which I mean, it happens, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't wish 10 years in a cult on anybody for sure. So,
Yeah.
but life's just funny that way. So when did you really start realizing that this church may have started affecting your relationship, or maybe you kind of got the feeling that it was going to be more important and more tied to your relationship than you wanted?
Um, I would say that first Passover is kind of the big one. I mean, she always did tell me religion is number one, which it never bothered me. But you could believe anything. It's freedom of religion.
Of course.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
just kind of when you don't have all the details and like I don't it never bothered me where she went. Um, I'm fine with it. It's more so like if I feel like the person I love is being lied to, I want to try and help them.
Of course.
But it was that first Passover where we kind of broke off for a day or two, and then she thought about it. It was kind of like I thought I never saw an issue with it, and we kind of talked, like I said, that wouldn't be an issue, but I guess it was always in the back of her mind, and it just kept snowballing and snowballing, and then it got too much for her.
Yeah. And when you say it got too much for her, are you talking about like it got too much for her in the church, or it got too much for her because she felt like you were threatening her faith and she wanted to kind of remove that? Or I guess explain what
Um,
that means a little bit.
I think maybe a little bit of threatening her faith. I was never trying to get her to leave per se, just kind of show her everything I see from my perspective, but not like deconvert for me. I mean,
For sure.
not why you should do that. But I think more like the church, she said she would never leave if someone told me to break up. So I don't think it was the church. I think it was more just her faith and spirituality. Whereas like she thought she would grow to kind of resent me later for not being there or sharing it with her.
Gotcha. And I would imagine too, right? Like if you guys decide to get married and have kids, that would have been a
Yeah.
pretty contentious point.
Well, yeah. We did talk about kids. I didn't really have plans, so it wouldn't have came to that. But with life, you never know. So
Right.
at that point, that would make it harder. Yes.
And I think what's interesting too, I mean, so obviously, I don't know if you did any studies there, but I mean, they hate Catholics.
Yeah. No.
they
Yep.
they absolutely. I mean, they think it's literally the institution of the Antichrist, of the devil, which is complete hogwash, of course.
Yeah.
But I guess that being said, that's almost like a Romeo Juliet situation. I feel like you
Yeah. A
have
little.
you
Yeah.
have Zion. It's like this Korean pseudo Christian religion, and then you have this Catholic, who I'm sure you've been Catholic for many generations, especially from the East Coast. It's very prominent there.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm just wondering, like, did you ever have any disagreements when it came to that? Because obviously there's a big chasm between the two
Yeah.
organizations.
I'm not Catholic now, I guess. I'm still searching for where to go.
That's fair.
But I guess there was really no disagreements with, I mean, I told I was baptized Catholic, but not Catholic, but there was no disagreements with that. More so disagreements when I questioned doctrine they taught from the Bible, like how it contradicts with what other verses say. That's kind of where more like I could see like the veil going over her, and it's kind of like go back to the script they gave you and say, oh, it's because of this or X, Y. That's
Yeah.
where I kind of saw it.
And did you ever go to the church?
So I went to their office church is where I did the studies, but I went to the main church for some blood drives, for like an orchestra thing, and for like a breakfast and Bible study. Um, that's what I went for.
What was your first impression of the church? I mean, because I feel like a lot of times, and this is where it gets really interesting to people, and I think even I'll say dangerous for people, because whenever they think of cult, they think of like even just like if you Google the word cult or you YouTube the word cult, and I've even been guilty of doing this myself, but you'll find like dark thumbnails, right?
Yeah,
Scary fire, really scary thumbnails. I don't even know
yeah,
what the word I'm looking for is, but basically just like, you know what I'm saying? And so a
hmm
lot of people think that when you're dealing with cults and you look for cults, you're going to see those kind of attributes, right?
yeah,
Like dark, conniving, evil, destructive, etc.
yep,
But when you go there, it's beautiful. Everybody's
yeah.
so nice. It's the buildings are nice. There's a lot of natural light. There's a lot of music and all this kind of stuff. So I'm interested to hear your perspective because, I mean, obviously you weren't in it. So what was your first impression of going to the church?
Yeah, it's not like your typical cult. I guess when I think cult, it's like people in robes sacrificing something.
Right.
That's what I think. But
Yeah.
the first one I went, I believe, was the orchestra. Um, I dressed up for her, and that's why I kind of felt a little love bombing by some people, where it's like, oh, you look nice, or you're looking good, but it's like I knew what they were doing at that
You
point.
should wear this more often.
Because I don't dress up. So if I were ever to get sucked in, I mean, that would be the thing that would probably push me away. Is I'm not wearing a suit every Saturday.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
but like the uh the church is nice. Like it is nice. The office church was not a typical office church, but it wasn't dark. The main church was nice. It looked good, clean. The only I think painting they had in there was the Last Supper, and then a bunch of paintings with like I think Mother and people behind her.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, if you didn't know anything about the group, you'd be like, man, this is a nice church. I feel loved here for sure.
And I think that's a very crucial thing because, again, a lot of people that aren't educated and haven't gone through these kind of things, you know, they go there and they're taken aback because cults are painted, like we were talking about
Yeah.
before, in this very dark, conniving, destructive way with capes and sacrificing stuff. But they're the complete opposite. You know, you
Hmm.
join cults because you feel safe, you feel meaning, you feel love, you feel purpose. You don't join cults to be controlled and manipulated and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a miscommunication probably on a lot of people's parts to try to educate people on cults is they do those thumbnails and it actually doesn't work that way. And
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it too. Um, did you ever in your relationship feel like you were competing for loyalty from the church? Because obviously, from what it sounds like, from the get go, the church came first always.
Yeah.
So how did
Um,
that make you feel? Because I'm sure there was a lot of things you probably wanted to do, and um, she obviously probably put you on the back burner for a lot of the things that the church needed her to do. So was that ever the case with you?
yeah, I mean, I wasn't trying to compete myself. So I would always support her if she had to go for an education or an event. Um, I was trying to be the person who was there for her, showing her that you can go ahead. It doesn't bother me. I mean, it's your
Yeah.
faith, not mine. So she can kind of see the love of there's no conditions to it. Like, I'm not going to hold you away from it. That's what I was trying to do.
And I think that's super important, especially if there's any family, friends, or significant others that are watching this, is as soon as you attack, as soon as you um, try to hinder or persecute, you're going to drive that person into it more. Because here's what happens when you get baptized, they say, you know, oh, you're happy, right? You believe in Ansang Hong, you believe in Mother, you believe in all this stuff, right? And then you're like, yeah, I'm in. Yeah, I want to go show the world this amazing truth, etc.
Mhm.
But then they're like, okay, but when you go to your family, right? Jesus, even his family didn't believe in him, right? The apostles, like, think about what happened to them. They got persecuted, killed, etc. So your family, when you tell your family, they're going to try and stop you from coming to Zion. They're going to try and tell you all these things about father and mother that's on the internet. So they already prep them for these
Yeah.
kind of things. And so sure enough, if the family's not educated about what's happening, sure enough, they go home and they're like, no, my family will understand. They love me, da da da, etc. They go home and they start telling their family this. And then, of course, what does the family do? Cult! You're not going
Yeah.
back to that place. You can't do that. And so that's just a manifestation of this is what they said was going to happen, right? Even they didn't realize they were primed and they were set up for that to happen because that's just a natural um, reaction that the parents are going to do, right? Anyone
Yeah.
would do it.
Yep.
But they set them up, and so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, which drives them even further into the cult, and that's what creates that emotional separation between you and the family member without them
Yeah.
even having to do anything. And so that's very wise of you, is what I'm trying to say, is because if you create that space to where she can be comfortable around you, she can have that freedom and not feel judged and not feel like, oh, if I go hang out with this person, they're just going to judge me and try and stop me. And I have to, so that's just something I want to throw in for the, family members and significant others that might be watching this is don't persecute, don't hinder, give them the freedom, give them the love unconditionally. And it's going to make your relationship better. It's not going to cure them from the cult,
Yeah.
obviously, but it will make that relationship better and it won't separate you, is what I want to say there.
Yeah. I would say try to let them. She would preach to me, so I would let her preach and just try to actually listen to what they say and don't. I was bad with it sometimes trying to rebuttal it, but just try to listen
Yeah.
and repeat what they taught you so you can actually understand what they believe is kind of a big one too.
And I would add to that too. Ask them questions about what they believe. So here's how I would do it. If they're giving you this sermon, right, this script, ask them more questions, right? Like,
Mhm.
for instance, a big one in King David is like, oh, hey, after they did the whole King David study, which I'm sure you probably know of,
Mhm.
where it's like 30 years baptized, 37 years preaching, and then pass away, etc. I would ask them questions about, like, oh, okay, like, so you said Jesus needs to preach for 37 years. Oh, and you said that's in the Bible? Oh, where is it? Can you show me that verse where it says Jesus needs to preach 37? Like, see how
Yeah.
I'm not like hindering them? I'm asking them questions about furthering what they're teaching because here's the thing with cults. Their theology is garbage.
Yep.
If you simply ask follow-up questions like that and press them on those kind of and I could give a billion examples, but I won't here. But just for instance, just asking that because their whole thing is like, we only study the prophecy of the Bible. Everybody else is wrong and going to hell. Oh,
Yep.
so you only teach us in the Bible. Oh, okay, great. Where's that 37 years in the Bible? Show me that. Show me that where it says specifically Jesus needs to preach for 37 years. Oh, uh, see? Like, so
Yeah.
if you let them do the spill and then you ask them follow-up questions, you gently, like, hey, I want to get on your side, but please explain to me this part that you are telling me, right? It falls apart instantly and you're not deemed an enemy. You're trying to understand them. So I think
Yeah.
it's a good thing you brought up too. So I'm really glad we're doing this because a lot of people watch this and they want points of how to talk to their family members. And I think
Yeah.
that's crucial. Communication is essential for helping these people. And once your communication is cut off, whether that be something you did or the church or whatever, that's when it's extremely difficult. Not impossible, but extremely
Yeah.
difficult. And so you said when you went to their Bible study and you said that, at least if I'm remembering correctly, they dodged your questions or they couldn't answer your questions.
Yeah.
Explain what that kind of looked like,
Um.
if you remember.
Yeah, I believe we were talking about Passover. This kind of goes back to the breakfast and Bible study we had. That was also about the seal of protection,
Right.
which they did like a Kahoot game. And funny enough, I almost won it. I got the last question wrong by accident. So it kind of would have been awkward if I had to stand up, someone who doesn't go to the church. But
Yeah.
so that kind of was before we did the study. Then we went there like a couple months later, but it was mainly about Passover, how it seals and protects you. Um, which I asked a lot of questions of like, why is it the Passover? It's never stated that it's the Passover in the New Testament. A lot of Paul and them, it's the Last Supper. But then I asked like, there's a bunch of verses where it was kind of like John 3:16 and all that, where it's like most of the time it just says believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
That was the will of the Father, is just to believe in the Son. And then that kind of got danced around. He's like, well, if you believe in Jesus, shouldn't you do what he does? And it kind of was just danced around. I never brought up, I should have, but like, well, Jesus always gave to the poor and the homeless. Why don't you guys do that?
Oh, we
But I
don't
didn't do that.
selective verse picking.
Yeah.
We don't do
Um,
that one.
yeah. But I think that was mainly it, was a lot of it. I kept asking questions. I think at that point, he could tell, like, I'm
You're
not your
not buying
average
it.
person off the street. Like, I would use like verbs from like old church fathers, or like, do you believe old church fathers? Um, I think the one that caught me off guard was like, okay, so you believe the Council of Nicaea, you lost the truth, but then how do you believe the Bible you're reading is the truth if there's no one being guided by God to put it together? And then he said, like, oh, it's because God occasionally guides people. And then I was kind of like, how can he just lose the truth, but then guide this council to put the Bible together? I'm like, that isn't really a God I would want to follow at that point. That was kind of like, I don't know how you could believe that.
What's ironic too is they make Jesus a liar, and here's why. Jesus literally said, "It is finished." Right? I am making everything new. But then they're like, "Yeah, but you have to kind of just read between the lines and just." I know he said that,
Yeah.
but here's what he actually meant. But yeah, with the whole Passover thing, I think it's so interesting, that one, because their whole thing is Passover is the forgiveness of sins, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if it's not though, because, and here's why, and I'm not even going to go to the Bible because it's just, here's why it doesn't forgive sins. And this is something I tell people all the time and it stumps them. Okay. And this is for WMSCOG members and leaders who are inevitably watching this because it pops in their feed. And I'm grateful for that because it means the algorithm's working. It means my work's not in vain. The reason why Passover doesn't forgive sins is because, think about it, the new covenant, you say the Passover is a new covenant. If you read the book of Hebrews, it literally says that the new covenant has put an end to sin once and for all. It is done. So here's why it's not Passover. If Passover forgave your sin, why do you have to keep Passover this coming year? Because if Passover truly forgave your sin, you should have just been one and done. But the fact that you have to keep keeping it means it actually doesn't forgive sin. Otherwise, why do you have to keep keeping it? Last time I checked, in the Bible, there's not a 365, day shelf life for Passover.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Passover juice ran out. We got to refill the canister. Like, it doesn't work that way. So that's why it's not the new covenant. New covenant, one and done, which means it can't be Passover that's every year. It's impossible. Now, I know they'll say, well, Jesus said, this is my flesh and blood, the bread and wine, this new covenant. Yes, it's symbolic. The Passover and the bread and wine is symbolic. Yes, it is. But just because it's symbolic doesn't mean it's the essence of. There's a difference.
Yeah.
One is a remembrance, one is the actual substance. So I just know they're going to say that because I know exactly how their brain works.
Yeah. I think the question I asked was, okay, so you take Passover, but then what happens if I look at a woman like a minute later and lust, then I'm in sin? What do I do? It's like, at that point, you kind of have to die while taking Passover.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Just
that.
You could just keep keep a bottle of wine and some bread on you at all times, man. Just like 1 sec.
I asked that question and never got an answer to that one. And I forgot to mention for the Bible study, like breakfast one, it did feel fear mongering when they did that, because it was like nuclear disaster, war, famine. How are you going to be protected? I'm like, that's a little fear mongering to me. That was pretty bad.
And that's the funny thing too, is they say that they're the early church, or they have the faith of the early church, right? Show me where Paul taught about World War III and tried to scare the crap out of people to believe in Jesus.
Yeah, if you're going to use the early church too, there's a lot of early church fathers that directly say the Passover is not needed, or the feast aren't needed, or Sabbath is now Sunday. So if you do that direction, it's like, who are you going to pick and choose now? You can't do that.
And they have selective history, right? Like, they'll take books and they'll say, see, Sabbath was abolished. See, Passover was abolished, right? Even though it's not really even in there, but they try to make it in there, and it's just pathetic. Yeah. But still, even still, right? They'll use, Eusebius's Ecclesiastical History, right? They'll use the Faith of Millions, the Faith of Our Fathers, which are Catholic books, by the way. And they'll say, see, look, it's in history. But it's like, okay, well, what about the other hundreds of books that literally contradict everything that you teach?
Yeah.
We don't look at those books, like Hippolytus, like Irenaeus' teachings, or Justin Martyr, or any of those other teachings. No, we don't look at those. Okay. So selective history, selective biblical verses.
Yeah.
And the funny thing with the seal of God, I mean, it's not funny, but the seal of God, right? They're like, you need to be protected, right? You need to be protected from this, from that. But it doesn't protect you from anything. Like, you still get a cold. People died because of
Yeah.
2020, right? I can't say that on YouTube or else I get flagged, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. People get in car accidents and get hurt, right? People die still, even in the church. The apostles died. Everyone that's ever kept Passover in history has died. And their whole thing is just like, oh, keep Passover. Oh, keep Passover. You be protected. Well, when is it supposed to work? It can't protect a cold. Doesn't even protect against a paper cut. But yet
Yeah.
you're banking on it protecting you from nuclear war and natural disasters. And honestly, what happens, WMSCOG members, if there's a natural disaster and your Zion is destroyed and people die in your church?
Yeah.
I mean, has it happened? I don't know, and I hope not, because I don't wish that upon anybody. But I guarantee you're not going to hear about it if it did, right? Because you have to keep the narrative alive. And the whole seal of God thing is just, it paints a picture of false security, which is my worry. False sense of security, false sense of safety. And so you do things that you would normally do. Scratch that. You would do things you wouldn't normally do, and it puts you in harm's way, and sometimes it ends really, really bad. Yeah. Did it ever feel like when you were in and you were doing Bible study with them, were they trying to inform you, or did it really feel like they were trying to recruit you?
I mean, obviously they're trying to inform me of what they wanted, but a lot of it did feel recruiting, like an employee handbook, like go through these steps, and kind of I was just there to listen. So
Yeah.
the first one, like he got through like step A, and then we just went off the rails. Like he wasn't able to go to the next verse. That's kind of felt more like I'm just kind of be recruited into this more than actually like, oh, go through this for like 2 years, and then when you truly believe it, understand it, then you can join. It was not that.
Right. And what's ironic with them too, right, is they'll use Matthew 28 and they'll say, you know, be baptized and then teach them everything, right? But there's a crucial part to that,
Hmm.
because in Mark it says those who believe and are baptized. What happens first? It's belief, right? How can you believe something if you're not told everything up front, right? You have a handful of, verses that testify about this unsung home character, mother character, and these other things. And they're like, oh, just get baptized and you'll learn later. You'll believe later. That's not how the
Yeah.
early church taught it. As soon as somebody was believed and they were told everything and then they believed, they were baptized. It's not get
Yeah.
baptized and figure it out later and believe later. It's literally believe, then choose to be baptized. But I mean, so much for being the same as the early church, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to, I mean, they won't like it, any Catholic church or Eastern Orthodox church, you cannot get baptized right away. They will make you sit with the priest and actually understand their beliefs. And then you get baptized when you believe it. And it's like a sign to you and God of like, I
Yeah.
believe this and I want to join. Not like, here's a checkbox, go do it.
Yeah. It's a confession of faith. It's not a, hey, I'm going to get baptized and find faith later. It's a, I
Yeah.
believe now. I understand now. I'm committed to everything now, and I want to profess my faith. But they're just like,
Hmm.
get baptized, because obviously it's a psychological tactic, right? It's, if I
Yeah.
get baptized, I feel like I am committed to it, right? It's a physical act of commitment. It's not really a physical act of faith. It's a physical act of commitment to the group. There's like a lot of
Yeah.
psychology that goes into that. So talk me through how you started seeing changes in her personality as the relationship progressed.
There weren't too many changes. I mean, we would sometimes, I wouldn't say argue, but talk about the beliefs, and that would cause issues. But I guess the big one that I saw more and more was she would always say like she doesn't deserve this or anything. And I feel like that came from the church, kind of like how you're a sinner and you don't deserve it. You should be doing more.
Right.
Um, that kind of hurt me, her hearing her say that. I guess she did tell me before she joined she was into video games, and then she slowly dressed more how they want you to dress. But she said those things are because she wanted to do it, not because the church told her. But I feel like it was kind of a little more of manipulation on their end, like, oh, you should do this. Um, and then the last one is, I think it was during one of the feast weeks. Obviously, everyone's tired during that, but I think one of the sisters sent out like a text message to a couple people saying like you should wear makeup because you're looking tired. Um, and I think in the message it said something along like "Mother always dresses up and looks good, so you should too." And that kind of hurt. Where it's like, why is someone telling someone you should be wearing makeup when I personally thought she didn't need it because she looks fine without it? But why is someone now telling her like you don't look good enough to come? You should wear makeup before you come. And after that, she started wearing makeup pretty much every Saturday. That hurt me probably more than it hurt her to hear that of like someone telling you you don't look good enough.
Yeah. And I think from your perspective, caring about somebody that much and just having them just accept it, um, and not stand up for themselves and not treat themselves how they should be treated because they're like, oh, yeah, I know, I just need to listen and obey. And when in reality,
Yep.
it's all just, and their whole thing, like, oh, mother, she always dresses up, she always does this. But realistically, like, no one knows what that woman does. I mean, yes, a handful of people in Korea know what she does, and they tell everybody a made up story of she prays all night, she prays everyone by name, she does all this and that and the other. And then when people are there, and I'm sure a lot of people that have seen her be like, no, I remember she preached, she let me preach to her at 12 o'clock at night and this and that. I'm like, okay, but what about the other times no one is there, right? When there is no visiting groups, which happen like
Mhm.
once in a blue moon now, like you can't tell me that she's constantly doing that in her old age of 80. It's just not a thing. And realistically, like, how do you know what she's doing? And even if she is doing something, it's a business. She's getting paid. Like nobody knows where the money goes. She's doing it because
Mhm.
like all the churches are assets. All the people in them are assets, right? Checking on your product because you're producing income for the church and you're
Yeah.
producing recruitment for the church. So it's in her best interest to have, her product working for her, right? Anyway,
Mhm.
did did she seem more robotic over time? Like did she seem more like her life was getting scripted? Because realistically, it's all like your life is planned out, your life is scripted, and everything has to follow this set narrative. Did you notice that? Like, or did she have an authentic self when she was with you, and a cult self, if you will, if she was away?
So when she was with me, I mean, if we weren't talking Bible verses, I could tell then that got more of kind of what she's been taught. But when we were together, it was more authentic. When we went to the main temple, I could tell she was more reserved and it didn't feel like her all the way. That's why I could kind of feel like two separate people. But when it was just us, she was more like normal. It's bad to say, but she was more authentic versus church. It's all God bless you and more like formal. So,
Yeah, I would say robotic, probably. Yeah.
um, yeah, I could see it. Most people kind of felt robotic too. Yeah.
Because you're forced. I mean, when you're forced to have emotions, you kind of forget how to actually authentically feel emotions. And when you forget to feel authentic emotions, you forget how to display authentic emotions. So that's why it comes across robotic because you don't authentically feel it anymore. And if you can't feel it anymore, you don't know how to fake it because you're just,
Mm,
you don't remember how to actually feel happy. You're just constantly like, oh, like I'm over the top when you're really not like that. Um,
yeah.
so before you went to the breakfast, was the breakfast like you trying to maybe um improve the relationship, or were you feeling like maybe you were on the verge of losing her before the breakfast and then you tried to like mend it like a last ditch effort or something? Or
The breakfast was about probably halfway through the relationship, I think, roughly. So that was
Okay,
more just going to support her, more so than anything else.
gotcha. And you said that she was writing letters about your
Mhm.
relationship. Um, how did you come to know that? Did she tell you?
So every Saturday, I could at night, I could tell she was on the app or something, writing something. I didn't know if it was the relationship or not. You can kind of infer since I knew
Yeah,
it was bothering her. Sometimes she probably would write it. She didn't really say anything until we broke up, but she said she does write letters, and she thought if she told me that then it would probably be like, why are you writing letters when you could just pray? But I could kind of probably infer you usually write letters of issues you have, and that was always an issue for her. Um, so that's kind of how I just inferred it. She never told me if she did or not.
gotcha. And honestly, I'd argue, regardless of her knowing, or excuse me, I would argue, regardless of you knowing or not, most likely your relationship was being, maybe not through the letter, but I would argue through her unit leader, because they are very nosy in that church. They're in everybody's business, especially if you have an unbelieving boyfriend or unbelieving spouse, because that is seen as a potential danger, potential persecutor, slander, whatever the case is. And so I would argue, if she wasn't writing letters to mother, your relationship was probably already talked about pretty openly with other members, because again, there is no secrets in that place at all. Which, I mean, I'm sure probably didn't make you feel good, thinking that your whole relationship and everything is on display for everybody to see without your permission.
Um, I guess I never thought about it. It didn't bother me, but if you put it that way, now that you think back of it, it's kind of like, where's the privacy for her? Like, why do they need to know everything about what's going on with her? Um,
Because it's
it was
about
always
control.
more feeling bad. Yeah, feeling bad for what she doesn't see it, but what she has to go through of being controlled that way.
Yeah. So, and it's just, nothing is private in that place. And I mean, if you've watched my channel thus far and you've heard the other stories of basically everybody I've talked to, it's very controlling. Your relationship, your children, your job, where you go on vacation. I mean,
Mhm.
now they had this. Actually, I might read it. I was really sent this today. Tell me what you think about this, okay?
Okay.
So this is a screenshot of a text message from a leader. I'm not sure where it's from, but I was sent to it, and I want to get your reaction because you were never a member, okay? So this is from a leader to other leaders, and it says, God bless you. The following is an announcement regarding applications to visit other churches for worship services. To ensure proper order and church security, members are required to submit an application prior to attending worship services at another church. Members should not visit another church for worship without completing this pre-application to worship at other churches. The purpose of this application is to verify the identity of visitors and to confirm that they are registered members of the Church of God. Recently, there has been an increase in cases where members travel to other regions for reasons such as vacations, family visits, or business trips, and attend a local church service without prior notification or approval from their home church. Please be advised that members who visit another church without submitting the required application may be turned away and may not be permitted to participate in worship services at the church they intend to visit. For this reason, we ask for everyone's cooperation, heightened awareness as we place special attention on church security at this time. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. If you have any questions and concerns, please let us know. So, before I give my 2 cents, I want to hear what you have to say about this.
So we did go on vacations occasionally, and I don't know if she didn't do an application. She did reach out to the unit leader to schedule it. But an application is kind of like, if it's a church, anyone should be able to go. Why do I need to say I'm coming here? That's like me. Imagine if the Catholic Church did that, where it's like, okay, I belong to this one church. Now I have to go out and I have to let them know every time. What if they just say no? I mean, any church should allow anyone to go in if you truly want them to be saved. So to me, that's kind of, at that point, you're hiding something. If you don't want anyone else, if you only want certain members, I can't just go there then. It's kind of wild to think.
It is super wild because, I mean, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's really hard sometimes, but it's like, that is the most culty thing. You guys complain when we call you a cult, but yet you do culty things. Like,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to, like, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Like,
Yep.
what else am I supposed to do? Um, but I just think it's crazy how, and this isn't for visitors, right? This
Yeah.
application isn't for visitors. This is for tithing members who are
Members.
going on vacation, who are on visiting trips, who are on business trips. It's like, that just blows my mind. You need an applicate, like, they're giving you 10% plus, I would say actually more, in income. They're preaching all the time. They're serving all the time. They're doing everything for you, but yet you don't trust them enough. You still need to have them fill out an application just to visit a Zion where they wouldn't even go if there was no Zion, right? Because that's a big no-no. And you're going to turn them away if they don't have an application to worship. Like,
Mhm.
who requires an application to worship? And it's funny how they're like, for heightened security at this time, right? We're paying special attention on church security at this time. You know why? Because I
Why?
did because I did a little protest, not a protest. It was more
No.
of an outreach outside of the Salt Lake City church in Utah, like 4 months ago, or 3 or 4 months ago, and a couple other people in California just recently in
Yeah.
Riverside were outside with signs.
Yeah.
So they're like, church security because 3 or 4 people had signs that were logical and helpful and loving. It's
Yeah.
just,
Sounds like they're gonna twist that for security and persecution. They're gonna say that to the members, like, look how we're being persecuted. We have to do this now.
I know, and it sucks because, it. Here's where it gets really dicey. What I feel like with us is because the more we do, I feel like it helps people and it helps people leave, but sometimes I feel like it makes it worse for the members inside, which I I wish it wasn't that way. Um, but in a way, it's good too because then they're going to start seeing some more of the signs because, like, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, "What? Really? We need application to."
Yeah.
So I think it's good because they're reacting and they're reacting as a cult, and we're literally saying they react like a cult. And
Hmm.
so I hope that it wakes some of the people up. But anyway, I just got that today, so I wanted to get your opinion on it. So interesting. Um, okay, sorry, moving on. um, yeah, I'm not a professional. I don't know what I'm doing. So,
That's good. It's flowing good to me.
oh, awesome. Appreciate your kindness there. So let's get into I guess the nitty gritty of it here. So I mean, up to this point, it sounds like it's going fine, right?
Hmm.
So what happened? I guess to put it bluntly.
I went on a business trip because I travel occasionally for work for field service reasons.
Uh,
Um, so she does have a daughter. I think that weekend she wasn't with her, so I think a lot of things kind of hit her at once. That I'm not going to bring up, but I think a lot of things kind of emotionally hit her, and she had to think about it of like, did I mess up for this and the other reasons, and it kind of got to her. And then we were planning to move into a kind of a single family home together. So I
okay,
think that also impacted like, what if I mess up later? And then now we got to move and I got to do that to my daughter again.
right,
Um, so I think all of that kind of hit her at once. And I came back and she's like, I could tell when she came into my apartment where it was like, she wants to mention something serious.
yeah,
And she said she wanted to have space so she could think and pray. I mean, at that point, I could kind of tell, I think her mind was made up. So I gave her like a week. She wanted to do like 2 or 3. I'm like, I don't think 2 or 3 weeks is fair to either of us. So I think I went the next week. I had to travel for business again. So I
yeah.
think I came back Friday and met her, and that's kind of where it was like, okay, she doesn't think it's gonna work, so we have to break it off now.
Do you think, and obviously, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of that, but do you think that the church had anything to do with that as far as like like the faith, or was it just personal
Um,
stuff?
I think maybe like I don't think the church directly told her anything because, like I said before, is if it was her decision that she would decide. But maybe like some sermons or something they brought up, maybe it subconsciously came into her mind too. But I do think deep down it was she thought what was best. I would still respect it. Was we still are friends and talk, but I think deep down she did say like over a couple years she is scared that she would grow to resent me and not like me as much, and she didn't want to hurt me, her, or her daughter. So I think it was more like her spirit, her faith, than the church's doing anything.
And when you say she might grow to resent you, is that simply because you just don't believe in the doctrine? Is
Yeah.
that what she's referring to?
Yeah, like not being able to share Passover or the love with her, like not being able to share everything fully, which is fair.
Yeah.
I think she kind of knew deep down the person I am. It's like I wasn't gonna join, and she never would make me join. So I think it was more like not being able to share it, and like me not being there. She'd be like, "Oh, I don't like him as a. It's hurting me as well." So
Well, and I would argue too, the sermons, a lot of the sermons I feel like are designed for gaslighting purposes. And I'm not going to say all because there's a lot of really good sermons, and I think even really good Christian sermons that I've heard in the WMSCOG, right? And that's something like with these organizations, they're not all bad, and that's what makes them dangerous is because they're not all bad. And some of the sermons and some of the educations are actually really awesome and actually really biblical, which makes them extremely dangerous, because that's what makes it very hard to distinguish and to figure out that it's a cult. But I would argue a lot of the sermons are very they're designed to gaslight the members and to make the members question their own thoughts, make the members question their own feelings, their own initiatives, their own basically everything about them. And the devious part is if your theory is correct that she is writing letters, I have verified through multiple sources that those letters are accessible. To what extent and how often, I don't know, but I know that they are accessible to the local overseer. And so if she was indeed reporting on your relationship through that means, and even if it wasn't the letters to mother, I would argue it was probably her leader, her handler, if you will, reporting it too. So information gets around, and I have a sneaking suspicion that most likely there was a bunch of different sermons about, not having one foot in Zion and one foot in the world, right? We shouldn't be yoked with unbelievers, right? We shouldn't, um, be worldly and, stuff like that. I mean, there's plenty of different examples like Jacob and Esau and all this kind of stuff that they throw at you. And so to say that it was completely her choice and completely her mind, and obviously I'm not her, I can't say, but
yeah,
I have a sneaking suspicion that the church was heavily involved and heavily influenced that decision because the reality is, I feel like if the church was never in her life, most likely you guys probably there would be no problem moving forward with the relationship, I would
yeah,
argue.
yep,
And so I can only make that conclusion based off, my assumptions, but I would say that's um, it's a pretty good theory is without the church, you guys probably would have been moving forward with the relationship
yeah.
there.
Like I don't think they directly told her anything, but the sermons and all of that probably did. And I think they do have a pastor. I don't know if I said we're in the Atlanta area. I
Okay.
imagine it was the pastor. I think it was Jacob Lee. She said
Okay.
if I had to guess, it's probably him reading it. If anybody, I
Right.
think I only met him once. I didn't even know he was the pastor. He seemed like some random Korean dude to me until she said, "Oh, that's the pastor." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Um,
He is
so
just some random Korean dude, though. You are right.
yeah,
It's
that's what
not,
I said. I'm like, I thought he was just saying hi. I'm like, okay. But then she said it was the pastor.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like they how they're structured is very interesting because I think they're moving away from the Korean only pastors because I think people started bringing that up a few years ago. I was actually one of them that brought them up. I'm like, why are all our pastors Korean? Like that just doesn't make any sense. And then all of a sudden, couple years ago before I left, they started promoting non-Koreans to pastor.
Mhm.
And so I just thought that was really interesting how, not all pastors are Korean now because I just know they're going to be like, oh, they're not all Korean. Like they do everything else. But I mean, that's not even a point we're trying to make or even care about. Like, even if they all are Korean, as long as they're teaching people good things, but that's not the case here, regardless. So, let's see here. Let's see. So, yeah. So I'm kind of skipping down a little bit here because I think we kind of covered a lot of these here. What would you say to somebody who is dating or even an unbelieving spouse? I mean, it probably would fit in the same realm. I feel like, what would you say as far as advice to somebody who's dealing with that similar situation that you had? What would you say to them?
I guess depends on the length you've been dating, but I guess for dating, you really should do your research of like what group they're in. Be open to it, not join, but actually listen to what they say. Like we talked earlier, be respectful, listen, be kind. Don't try to be like what I did sometimes and be like, oh, but this contradicts it. Just be the person they can go to feel safe. Um, for if it's marriage, that's a different story because if you believe the Bible like they do, you can't get divorced if the other side believes and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's a whole different topic. But again, if you're also married and like they joined while after you were married, just be respectful, be there for them, support them. Don't tell them they're doing anything bad. Just eventually, if they'll come to the truth and be like, okay, I'm being misled or something contradicts what they said before versus now. So you just have to be someone they can feel safe to go to.
Yeah. I would say, maybe somebody listening to that, they might think, well, no, I can't do that. I have to fight. It's like, trust me, if my parents and my wife's parents did that, we probably wouldn't have been in that long, right? If you start sending them, slander material, which is what they say we're doing now, or you send them, you know, uh, articles or anything negative of the church, it's just going to kill your relationship. If you talk smack on them or you call them a cult or whatever, it's not going to go anywhere. Interventions, that's not going to work either. Literally, what Paul is saying is absolutely 100% true and needs to be. It might not seem like anything. It might not seem like it fits what you should do, but trust me, it works better. And even if it doesn't get them out, at least you still have a relationship and the
Yeah.
communication isn't closed. Then that is the most important part and the key part of that.
Yeah, I would say if you're religious, look at it that way of what if someone was trying to show you stuff that I mean, it's different, but like disproves it. If they have good evidence, it's different, but you gotta look at it that way. If you believe in Jesus and someone's trying to show you all this, you might push back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, you know, if somebody is showing you things, number one, I would say always hear them out, because if you hear them
Yeah.
out, like you were saying, Paul, if you hear them out and let them finish, and then through what they said, analyze it and ask them specific questions, like analyze specific holes in what they said, clear contradictions. Don't bring them up and be like, hey, you're lying. Hey, you're contradicting. Hey, da, da, da. No, say like, oh, you said this. I'm just wondering, like, because you said you believe the Bible and any adding to and taking therefrom is bad. So please show me the scripture where it says Jesus must preach for 37 years. Because then they have to think about it. That's how do I show him that it's not
Yeah.
in the Bible? And I just said, so it gets them to think, but you're not seen as the enemy. You're trying to be on their side. And I would argue too, like there's so many things you can do that with, like, and I would say too, even let them pray in front of you, right? Don't let them keep their religion a secret to you. That's the number one thing that I wish my parents would have known, is don't let them keep their religion a secret. Have them pray, like at a
Mhm.
dinner or something, like, oh, can you please pray for us, right? And then they're gonna have to literally pray their prayer and think about it and be like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
It,
But number one, it
it's a
gives
good
them
way to put like a seed in their mind.
yeah, because they have to do it in front of you. It's one thing that they do it in private,
Yep.
right, with all their echo chamber. It's another thing having to do it
Yep.
in front of people in the real world. And I would say if you have a dinner with them, be like, hey, can you please pray for us? Because they're not expecting that. They're expecting you to be like thrown to the back. Be like, no, you're a weird cult person. Get back there and shut up, right? And really make them embrace it and make them bring it out in the open, because you're going to see that, you know, they're going to crack one day. You're going to see strain one day. And if you're on that level where they're comfortable with you, they can pray in your home, they can pray in front of you, they can talk freely without being interrupted and interjected and yelled at, or whatever the case is, you're going to have that open communication, and you're going to start to see when those cracks appear. And then when those cracks appear, then you can start feeding them stronger seeds, start planting stronger seeds. But if you start that in the beginning, they're just going to close up like that. And the communication, everything's going to be done. They're going to be living in secret. It's going to be terrible.
Yep.
Did you ever do holidays? Was that
Um,
with her? Was that weird? That situation?
so the first year, to me, I don't really care. I mean, I'm not, when I was younger, I did big Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Since I moved, it's just me and my dad. We did
Right.
go on vacations for them, but it is a little weird. But deep down, it's like, it never was an issue to me. But to them, like, she was into it, like, don't celebrate. Her parents gave her gifts and she felt conflicted with it. And I could tell I'd respect that if we went further, but I could tell, like, her even giving gifts is kind of like she viewed it as bad.
Yeah. Which is another good point I want to talk about too. To members who, or not to members, to family members and spouses and whatever, don't enforce holidays on them, right? I would say, if you want that communication to be open, do not force holidays on them. Don't try to get them involved in holidays. Don't try to give them holiday wrap things, holiday cookies, anything. I would say if you want that relationship and you want them to get out quicker, I would say accommodate them,
Yep.
right? It won't kill you to not have a Christmas once, if that means potentially getting your, whatever the case is, out of the organization, building that relationship, that communication again. Because that's something that I wish my parents would have done too, is not tried to, like, because then guess what? Guess what happens if you do? You don't show up anymore. Where do you think they're going to go? They're not going to go to your house anymore for that day. They're not going to trust you after that. Where do you think they're going to go?
They're going to
They're
go
going to
to
go to
church.
church. So
Yep.
that's the method behind the madness there. And so I know it sounds like, well, I love Christmas. Oh, I love that. Okay, well, what do you love more? You know, in some cases, you know, I mean, I don't want to be blunt and brass, but really though, I would accommodate them. I would make my, like, I'm talking like as if my kids, right? If what I know now, if my kids were sucked into this organization, that's what I would do. I would be like, okay, we're not doing Christmas, we're not doing anything, because I want every ounce of connection with this child that I could possibly get, even if it means I have to skip Christmas the rest of my life. You know?
I would say for Christmas, we talked about just doing it on New Year's instead, and she said she was fine with
Bingo.
that. So that's always an option. Just move it a week later. I mean, it's up to you how you feel, but just having that connection with them, it's also big of you're doing the same thing just a week later.
And they're fine with it. And even if it's weird and you don't understand it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because it's about them. It's trying to get them out. It's not about you.
Yep.
And every time, so that's exactly what we did. We did everything on New Year's. That was like our Christmas. It was not wrapped in Christmas presents or whatever. It was just New Year's theme, right? And I remember all the time we would get so much flack for it, and, you know, just, oh, like, you guys, like, you're in a cult, and and it's like, okay, well, so, like, what do you want us to do? And so we wouldn't go over there, right? We'd stop by quickly and not care. And so I'm just saying, this is what we're saying right now is absolute gold. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. It's true. This will indeed help your relationship. So last question here that I'll ask, because we're already coming at an hour. Last question I have here is, if one day, let's say she happens to come across this video, what would be one thing that you would want to tell her right now?
I guess that I still love her and respect the decision. I would just say, look into the history of what they taught, of the books you can't see. I mean, ex-member videos aren't bad. I mean, a lot of ex-Catholics came out. Their testimony is still valid. It's their experience. And from what I've seen, a lot of these ex-members teach the same stuff or say the same things. So I don't think you could say, oh, well, they're all doing it because of Satan. It's what they were taught and what they went through, and that's just as valuable as anything else. So
Yeah.
I would say really give it an effort to look into what On Sung Hong wrote, um, their history, how they have kids, how the Zane Gil-ja divorced. Really look into it and see, is this who I want to spend my life looking up to or worshiping? Even in the Bible, there's some Jews that they were noble for looking into Scripture to test it. So it's not bad to doubt. Everyone doubts in their faith at some point. If it's the truth, you're going to come back to it anyways. So really just take your time looking into it
Yeah.
and don't be afraid of it.
Yeah. I would argue doubt is a tool. Doubt is designed to test if you are in the truth. So you're going to have doubt in any religion. And I would argue the doubt that makes you come back to where you were, that's probably the truth, Um, and so, you shouldn't be afraid of doubt. You shouldn't be afraid of testing anything. Like if somebody was to bring to me, like I'm a Christian, I believe in Jesus. But if somebody was to bring to me like a wheelbarrow full of evidence, that's hard evidence saying, actually, no, here, Christianity's wrong. Jesus is not God, all this kind of stuff. Here's why, solid evidence. I have two options at that point, right? First option is I just cognitive dissonance, right? I just forget and I just pretend like it never happened because it's destroying my narrative and it's destroying this makeup in my mind that this is true and there's evidence countering that. And so I'm just pretending like it doesn't exist and justifying it away. Or second option, I'm like, oh, well, let me find what else is true then. Right? Let me see if I can find what else is true then. If that wasn't it, let me see if there's something else that I can look into and find and seek and, search for. So those are the two options that you as WMSCOG members have, because there is more than a wheelbarrow full of evidence, I would say. But it really comes down to you guys, right? Do you just, no, An Sang Hong is God, Zhang Gil-ja is mother, yada, 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 and just ignore all the evidence and just go your merry way and continue in this path? Or do you say, hey, you know what? Thanks for letting me know. Now let me take whatever time I have left and go find something else. Let me go find the actual truth. Let me go seek the actual truth. Let me go seek the actual God. I know it sounds simple and it sounds easy. It's a lot harder said than done, obviously, having gone through this type of thing. But in the end, though, that is what's most important, is always seeking truth. Don't be afraid of doubt, because, again, the truth can stand up to the toughest of scrutiny. And I know the WMSCOG says that, but as soon as you start asking tough questions, you'd be surprised how quickly that truth and that love and that friendship, that family crumbles. So, Paul, I want you to just take a couple minutes here and just speak your mind, talk to some of the WMSCOG members and just give them the good old 1-2, and we'll wrap this up here.
So yeah, I mean, every member I met, they're all nice people. I don't have any hate towards them. I mean, all love. I just say, like I said earlier, the truth will set you free. You can still do Passover, your feast, Saturday. It's never an issue of you doing it. It's just who you do it for. I believe if you honestly read the Bible yourself, you will be able to see that Jesus is the truth and that you just coming to him, he's not going to hate you because you worship someone wrong for X amount of years. He's going to appreciate and love you no matter what. So really just read the Bible. I would recommend looking into the evidence, but if you don't want to do that, the Bible's your best friend. Just do it on your own time and really read it. Old and new. I would say Galatians and Hebrews are probably the best ones to really hit home of what it is to be a Christian. I mean, anyone could claim to be a Christian, but really those are the two big ones to hit home. But all of the New Testament, all the Old Testament, it's all important. I believe if you truthfully read it and just pray and earnestly seek, I believe you'll be led the right way and come out of it. It may be hard, but I mean, it's better to be in the truth than stick into the old church where you don't feel it. And it's your eternal salvation at the end of the day. You shouldn't be scared to look into it, because if it's going to be your life forever, you don't want to be in the wrong choice. That's my big thing, is If it's something that important, I'm going to look into all the facts I have. I'm not going to just let someone tell me it's because of this. I'm going to take my time myself and look into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, so I'm just going to leave it at that, man. If you guys found this helpful, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a like, share it, and subscribe, and do all that YouTube stuff. I'm not sure what that even does, but I appreciate all you guys for watching. Paul, thanks for watching the channel, and thanks for coming on here, man. I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people, because I wish that this was like an isolated incident, but unfortunately I feel like this happens a lot more than I and you could even imagine. And so I appreciate you coming on here and giving us your story and shedding some light on that side of things. And if anyone is just needing anything or looking to talk, message me in the comments below. That's what Paul did. He found my email and we connected, and my email's on the description, and leave it in the comment too if you want. I can email you. And thanks for watching, guys, and hope you're safe, and God bless.